r/AskReddit. What is the best display of wealth you've ever seen? When my cousin had cancer, she made friends with the girl she shared a room with in the hospital, who was dying and had no living relatives. Her friend was going to have to transfer to the hittest hospital in our area because she had run out of money. My millionaire uncle found out about this when he was visiting my cousin and paid her friend's medical bills through on the spot in 2 phone calls. Then he gave her his number to make sure she called the next time her bills were due. That's amazing. How are they all doing now? My cousin survived. Now she's got a husband and 2 beautiful little girls who we all adore. Amanda, her friend, did not. She died a few months later. My cousin was one of only 6 people to go to the funeral. My uncle is still himself. He always said that instead of tithing to a church, he'd give 10% of his income to people he encountered who needed help. And he has pretty much stuck by that. This is just one example of the many people he's helped out. I went to a friend's wedding once. It was held at the home of his fiance's friend, a .com billionaire who got out before the tech bubble burst. Multi-million-dollar house in a gated community. Famous people as neighbors. 100 wedding guests had dinner on his patio. I was talking to the groom around sundown, and there was this worker going through and cleaning the tables like a pro. I mean, every glass and bottle was swept up swiftly and efficiently. I said, wow, that guy is really good, and my friend said, yeah, he's the owner. A billionaire was cleaning up after us. He probably just saved money by not hiring housekeepers. He was counting glassware and silverware to make sure /you/Gaga Jack wasn't stealing them. I worked on a children's cancer unit, and every year we had a 2-week children's cancer survivor camp. There were usually 30-40 kids each year. They kids had it done up right. They had an ice cream machine in each of the dorm rooms, a trip to Disney staying at the $500+/NIGHT Disney hotels, park tickets, pocket money to spend in the parks. They chartered a yacht for a day of fishing and cruising on the ocean. Swim with the dolphins day. The girls got makeovers. The boys and girls got game systems. Fine dining at a posh restaurant on South Beach with limo rides. Shopping spree at a swanky mall. Pretty much anything they wanted was at least seriously considered and usually granted. Most of these kids were from middle class and poor families, and no way would have ever been able to afford that. As a nurse, I got to go on some of those trips to manage their meds, and it was amazing. It was just the surviving kids. No families. No siblings. It was all 100% about only them. All of this paid for each year by one check from one awesome, anonymous donor. It was just the surviving kids. No families. As the parent of a child with severe life-limiting condition, thank you. Having that time, it was a week for us, off knowing our child is cared for both medically, but also socially and emotionally. Having fun with friends finally allowed us to relax and get a week off. Don't underestimate how vital it is for the parents' mental well-being also. Thank you. I feel like it would also be a welcome break for the siblings of these kids, so they could spend some time with their parents one-on-one without mom or dad worrying constantly about the other child. When I was 1 year old, our house burned to the ground. I was the youngest of 4 children at the time. I have a little brother now. We lost everything, including the car. My father spent months in the burn unit with less than a 33% chance of survival. Miraculously, he recovered. A fellow church member/friend bought us a brand new car and left a stack of cash in the glove box to help us get back on our feet. My father promised to repay him after he got a job. At the time of the fire, he was in a PhD program, which he subsequently dropped out of. The man refused to let my father pay him back and simply said, "Someday, you will have the chance to do this for someone else." Fast forward a decade and my father had a great job. We lived in a nice home, had multiple cars and everything else we needed. At our church meeting, it was announced that money was being raised to purchase a specialized van for a paralyzed man. After the meeting and in private, my father asked how much was needed to buy the van. He proceeded to write a check to cover the remaining cost. Sadly, Our fellow church member who had done such a wonderful deed to us had passed away and was not around to hear that his words to my father had come true. Your father was doing his PhD while he already had 4 kids. No wonder he survived the fire. He already had superpowers. Your mom too. For supporting him so. Yeah, I like to see him as the Energizer Bunny. The guy just keeps going and going and going, and my mother is the rock. She gets it. I knew this rich Arab guy, a prince in the literal sense. He wasn't a bean. He never flaunted his wealth, just a normal guy. After about a year of knowing him, he was in my friend circle. We were pretty close friends. Out of nowhere, he invites us all to France. An all-inclusive trip where we stayed in a 5-star hotel, explored Paris, and went on a road trip to nearly every other place in France we could reasonably go to in 2 weeks. Nobody but him paid a single franc. He bought us first class tickets. Wouldn't let us pay at all the fancy ass restaurants we went to. Best vacation I've ever gone in my life. That's honestly super cool of him. He's a super cool guy. George Lucas is going to spend over $100 million to build affordable housing in an effort to piss off his neighbors who blocked him from building a studio. He isn't doing it as charity though. It's more like, fine, you won't let me build a studio? Take all these poor people then. We'll allow it. My grandfather was a landscaper for one of the wealthiest families in his town. All along the years they were always very generous, giving him large Christmas bonuses and extra money during the year for reasons like they lived a rich hue of the roses that year. At age 86, I know. Grandpa saw a doctor for the first time and was told he had to stop working. All the bending over caused eye problems. The family continued to pay him his weekly salary and maintain his health insurance until he died at 100. They then sent $20,000 to the funeral home to defray some of the costs. Mom and I would occasionally go up there when he was working. And if she was home, the matriarch would come out and sit with us and have us served iced tea with mint and the most delicious cookies. Just really nice folks. Edited to at, holy cow. I didn't expect so many people to respond. Second edit, when you bend over for extended periods, hours each day for decades, pressure begins to build in your brain. In his case, behind the optic nerve. This could lead to blindness. If only I could live to 100. Your grandpa was a strong man. He was amazing. Never owned a car. Ate all the wrong foods. But was healthy to the end. Died in his sleep. I still miss him. I love telling this story. So when I see a house and the kitchen has an island, I consider the house to have a safe amount of money. Not the best metric, but it's never lead me astray so far. In high school, a bunch of friends and I go to a guy's house after a soccer game. He has a huge house. There were more windows on the front of this house than I have seen on any other home. We go in to raid the kitchen and decide what to do. I walk in and his kitchen has 2 islands. This is outrageous. A house with 1 island is doing fine money wise. But 2 islands, these people must be loaded. We are talking and he asks us to be quiet so that his parents do hear us on the other wing of the house. I thought it was outrageous before. But now they have 2 islands and their house has 2 wings. Houses with wings are supposed to only be in movies of the early 20th century like Annie. So I press him on it. The other wing has a house with an identical kitchen. This house has 4 islands. That is downright unbelievable. My house only had counters on the wall. This splendor is unheard of. So we decide to go swimming in their pool. It's in ground and super nice. I would normally look at it and think how nice it is. But I'm still taking in the 4 islands. One of our friends has to go to the bathroom. But it's late, so my friend just says to use his pool house. I look up and there are 2 full-sized, 2-story, single-bedroom pool houses. We go in to try to scare our friend in the bathroom. We walk through the kitchen to get to the basement. He has a 3rd kitchen. This kitchen has an island. What the actual duck? He has 3 kitchens and 5 islands. I can't believe this. But then it dawns on me. Dude, is the other pool house the same as this one? Long story short, yes. They have 4 kitchens and 6 islands and an in-ground pool. I never thought wealth like this existed outside of movies. So many islands it could be Fiji. They might actually own Fiji. The rumor was the house used to belong to the Prince of Sweden. My dad inherited about 250,000 in 1950. That was a lot of money then. Because he had no need for money. He drove a bus. One day a black man came on the bus, claiming he couldn't get loan on a house because as soon as the banks found out he was black, he was turned down. My dad called the banks, asked for loans, and then told them he was black, and was turned down at once. Over the phone, my dad loaned the man $10,000 to buy a house. Interest free. Username suggests user is not like their father. Late to the party, but whatever. When I worked at a casino years ago, we had this amazing lady who operated the tab for betting on anything that wasn't table games or pokies. She'd been around for as long as anyone could remember. Was always bright and bubbly at work, no matter what she had going on outside of it. One day she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Operable. But at a cost of over $80,000. She was panicking and didn't know how she was going to cover the costs. Being in a casino and being there as long as she was. She knew everyone there was to know who was a big player. Within the week of word getting out, we had over 15 patrons that were willing to outright pay for her operation. But we couldn't take their money as it would be seen as taking gratuities from patrons, which was highly forbidden. In the end, her daughter set up a GoFundMe to raise funds for it. The patrons caught word again, and within 5 days they had raised over $500,000 towards her operation. She was flown to the best brain surgeon in Australia, and the operation was a complete success. Her daughter used the remaining money to start a foundation in her mother's name that helps provide financial aid to those with medical needs, and helps fund research into brain tumors and surgeries, and is still donated to regularly by some of the casino's top spending patrons. Edit. Well, RIP my inbox. I'll try and clear up some questions for people here. I can't name names, and the actual casino name due to social media clauses they make you sign means I can't disclose the specific casino it was that I worked at. Charlie Tia was the surgeon she got to see. Medicare. Yes, it would covered it. But the time it would taken to go through a public hospital and the rate the tumor was growing would meant her odds of surviving brain surgery at her age would have been very slim. So to my knowledge she was operated on in a private hospital with expenses paid by cash, rather than private health insurance, to eliminate the wait for surgery. Details are fuzzy. All I remember was the operation was going to be ballpark $80K. Duck, I love me some Australian spirit. Good on 'em. We are good eggs.